The Icons of Real Estate Podcast. Are you ready to learn the proven money-making secrets from top-producing icon agents? Ready to skyrocket your business? This podcast is for you. Tune in every week with your host, Tomasz Fonseca, and find out how to implement proven strategies to 10 times your business. From $3 million to $30 million in just 12 months. Brought to you by the Masters at Real Estate Marketing, Arter SEO.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Icons of Real Estate podcast. I am Luis, your host, and today we have a very special guest. She's one of the top realtors in Jacksonville, Florida, with more than 200 sales, 200 transactions. Can you imagine that number? So I can introduce you to Sharon Mills, and she's gonna let us know about her story and how she got to this point. Hello, Sharon, how are you?
Hi, fine, thank you. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Can you tell us a little bit about you and your story?
Yes. I have been in real estate now going on 18 years. Moved to Jacksonville, Florida in 2004 and embarked upon my real estate career in 2006. So in a city, in a state that I was new to, decided that I would get into real estate, worked for General Motors for years, and I had my own decorating business. And once I moved here and knew this would be my final relocation,
Okay.
I have moved so many times from my own homes that I always liked the idea of real estate and helping, people helping me get into homes and finding homes in the various states that I lived in. And so I decided in 2006, when my daughter was preparing to go off to college, that I would get into real estate. And that's what I did and absolutely loved it.
Almost 20 years of experience. And were you so good at this since the beginning, or?
To be honest, I would say yes. Once I put my mind to something, I really follow through on it. So I will tell you, in 2006, if you remember, in 2006, I got in June of 2006, mid 2006. Well, by the second half of the year, of course, our country was heading towards the worst real estate crisis we've ever seen in the country, or worst economic crisis for the entire country. So when I got in, the market crashed. And so I spent my first 2 years, I'm with the same company that I've been with for 18 years, and came in as a newbie. And as I mentioned at the beginning of this podcast, knew really nobody. The first year that I was here, I spent building a home. And so the second year, once I got into the home, is when I decided to do real estate. So it can be done in a city where you know no one, right?
Yeah,
and so what I did in this down market, and I think this works for everything, but what I did in this down market, got into the real estate industry and was determined to, even though the market had slowed down, I remember thinking to myself, so many agents got out of the business at that time. And so many people even said to me, hey, this is the wrong time to get in. Like, there's nothing going on. And so for myself, I like challenges. And I thought, no, if this is something I want to do, I'm going to apply myself. And so I went into my office every day, because I remember thinking, if I worked for General Motors, I would not have been able to say, oh, the market's bad, I can't show up for work. So I showed up for work every day.
Wow.
And I studied everything I could about the real estate market. And at that time, not much was moving in the market. So what I became was an information source to my customers. People at that time, we were going through foreclosures and short sales, so many different things that we had never seen before. So I took it upon myself. I'm a detail-oriented person. So I took it upon myself to just study everything that I could about the market. So in a down market, and I want to say at the time, my company probably had somewhere between 1,800, I think, real estate agents.
Wow.
Well, by my fourth year, I was number 9 in the company. And so I have been in the top 10 literally for the last 14 years.
Wow. That's so
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
The top 10, I trust that.
Yeah. Top 10 and the top 1% of all of Jacksonville for all companies.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is just impressive. Thank you for being here again.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
You're really an icon. So can you share a memorable success you had in recently or even in the past?
You know what? I have so many, every deal that I truly have so many successes. It's like, I love the business. So anytime I'm at the closing table, is a success. And I would say my percentage for listings, top lister in my profession for listings, I typically sell all my listings. It's very rare.
Wow.
It's very rare that they don't get sold. And I think so much of that has to do with marketing, how we market it. Having had the background of decorating, that certainly helped me in my business because, again, being able to go in and help people stage their properties. And sometimes staging doesn't involve always bringing in new furniture. It's showing people what to do with what they already have, and just having that knowledge. And something that my customers always shared with me, and especially early on, and they were like, you know what? Thank you. It's so wonderful having an agent like you because they said they had other agents who could come in and tell them what's wrong, like
No,
you need painting
negative
or you need
point.
this.
Yeah.
But yeah, and tell them what's wrong, but they don't know how to tell them how to fix it. And sometimes staging is key. Simple things like going to some customer's home, and certainly we live differently than we would sell our homes, right? We live in our homes differently than we would sell. So sometimes they have a family room set up and they have large pieces of furniture. Like I will tell them sometimes, you know what, let's remove one piece of the furniture. Certainly it works in this room, but I said, if you think about a buyer has probably 15 to 30 minutes in your home. And if they're seeing 5 or 10 homes in that day, they don't remember that family room really is large enough for their things. All they remember is, you know what, that was the house that the family room felt small, right? So they don't remember that it was because it had 2 sofas and 2 extra chairs that shouldn't have been there. So I really going to help them try to maximize the space so that a buyer can visualize their things in their
Wow.
home versus it being overcrowded with the seller's things.
Okay, okay. That's pretty
Mhm.
amazing. And how do you balance the demand of serving luxury market clients with those residential property buyers?
Buyers and sellers, something I provide the same service. I do a lot of luxury, sell a lot of $1 million, 2 million, 5 million, whatever. I sell a lot of luxury. And sometimes, like I'll have friends that'll say, oh, I had somebody who wanted to sell, but their home was only 300,000. So I told them you only do luxury. And so I really had to educate my friends years ago. You know what? You let me pre-qualify the people because I'll take somebody at 200,000. To me, that 200,000 is their million, right? So I give them the same service that I would give my $1 million customer. Where things may be different would be the type of marketing. Certainly for a luxury property, you have to do a lot more marketing than you probably would for 200,000. I still give them the marketing, but luxury clients expect to be in luxury magazines. They expect to be in certain platforms that maybe the $200,000 client, because that can sell faster, wouldn't necessarily need to be in. So for me, as far as service, I give them both the same level of service. It's just maybe my marketing would be a little bit different.
Oh, you're just special,
Oh,
really.
thank you. Thank you.
That's great. And what strategies are you finding more effective when negotiating?
You know, the key to negotiations is not forgetting the purpose that we were coming to the table for. And that is to make a seller happy and to make a buyer happy. And so if you start off negotiations being open, having good communication with the other agent is not just buyer seller. And this is something I always say to agents when I am either mentoring or somebody calls me and they're just getting in the business. Don't forget who it is that you're representing, right? And take our emotion out of it. Because one thing that I find, I say this often, is if sellers and buyers knew how many deals fell apart because of the ego of the agent, not that the deal couldn't come together, but the agents don't work together. And so I really do pride myself on people, I think, see me as a very strong negotiator in my market, but they
Okay.
also see me as a very fair negotiator. And so for me, even when agents come to me and if they want to lowball the property, I don't get offended by it. I just have to educate them why that number does not make sense and certainly take it to the buyer. So I think having the knowledge base prevents ego from getting involved. It's like it's here in black and white. I can show you from a business, and I do so much from a business model, right? I show people from a business model, and I do the same thing with my customers. I try to encourage them when I bring them an offer. Let's say somebody lowballs, I've got a property that's $1.5 million. Somebody comes in with $1 million. It's very easy to become insulted if that's your property. How dare them? I'm not even going to respond. And I hear that often. And there are agents that we have made offers and they go, the seller doesn't even want to respond. And to me, that is not moving the negotiations forward. And one thing I've always said to my sellers, I would advise you to respond to everything, right? So even if you're at 1,500,000 and somebody insults you with 1,000,000, don't sit and pout about it. What you do is you go back and say, my number is 1,500,000 or my number is 1,450,000. You always want to counter, because in most cases, buyers, they're just trying to see where you are, and they don't
Yeah.
know. They're not mind readers, so they don't know. So I said, rather than be offended, you go back with your number. Your number is your number, and you get the final say. So I think I have a good strategy in terms of keeping the process moving, keeping everybody focused on what the goal is versus becoming emotional and offended and all of that, because it just doesn't get the job done.
Yeah, that is exactly why you are so successful.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
So
I,
yeah, go
Mhm.
ahead.
No,
Go
I
ahead.
said, I love it. I love, this is like the perfect business for me. Again, I've been doing it for 18 years and I have never tired of it. I love it. And I think it's more than about the homes, it's the relationships that I'm building with
Okay.
people. And it's like people say real estate agent, we're psychologists and psychiatrists and marriage counselors. And there's such a bigger picture. And when people are going through difficult things in life, I feel people have told me that they feel that I'm very authentic and empathetic to their cause, and so it's not just helping them buy a house, but it's helping them sometimes emotionally get through whatever that hardship is, the loss of somebody. So let me handle this for you, right? While you handle all the things you need to take care of. I'm the professional over here. I will do as much as I can for you. I'll bring you the facts and try to make this transition as easy as possible for my customers. And that is something, a common thing that I hear. People will say, this is the easiest transaction. I've sold many homes. This is the easiest transaction I've ever had. And I think some of that comes from being wise enough to know that it's up to me to be a buffer for my clients. I am the buffer. So you don't have to carry every single thing. Oh, that agent said this, or their buyer said, people sometimes go back and forth with too much, and it just causes people to be offended. I tell them what's necessary, what's productive, and certainly wouldn't just hold back anything relating to numbers, but you don't need to know that the agent had an attitude or the
Yeah.
buyer said they think your price was ridiculous, but they're going to pay it anyway. As long as they're going to pay it, some of the extra comments I think are not necessary to bring to the table. And a lot of agents don't realize that, right?
Yeah,
So
I agree. And well, you have a lot of experience. So are you currently recruiting new agents, or do you coach new agents, or with that experience, what do you do with that?
yeah, so I do not, I at one time had a team. I had about 4 people on my team, and it was great. I find for me that I work better alone.
Okay.
And yeah, and I'm not looking to be a broker. I work better alone, and only from the standpoint of I'm very detail oriented, again, with my customers. And so even when I had the team, because I had a couple brokers that said, you know what, you should really just coach people and have a team. And so again, tried it. But I find I really like to take my time and my skills to really focus on the customer. And especially dealing with the higher end customers that I'm dealing with, it's very time consuming. So if I have to manage over here, I leave that for my broker. I'd rather not have to manage people. I don't
Yeah,
mind giving advice, but I don't want to manage people. I want to serve. I want to use that time to serve my customers.
that is really amazing. That is really amazing. And that's why you fly alone, because you are impressively successful and intelligent. That
Yeah,
is
thank
great.
you.
And well, in this case, could you describe a challenging situation you faced in your career in the past or in the present?
I would probably the most challenging situation was in from 2006 to 2010 when there was nothing going on, right? And so it doesn't get any tougher than that, right? So I remember starting in 2006 and I remember thinking, what would I ever do? Oh my gosh, when you're new in the business, you're like, oh my gosh, I got one deal. What am I going to do if I get 5 deals at one time, right? Well, after going through the crash and being there and seeing it all, and a lot of agents left during that time. And I understand they had to go get other jobs and things like that, but a lot of agents left. And I remember thinking, that is such a mistake to leave and then come back in. So staying in and going through the fire, I think I saw almost everything there was to see that could happen or that can go wrong in real estate. And so for me to get that kind of knowledge, there are very few things, if anything, that scares me when it comes to real estate, because I'm definitely an optimist, and I definitely believe that there's a solution for every problem.
Wow.
There isn't a problem on the planet that there is not a solution for. And so I've had several of my customers ask me, executives ask me, you must be a chess player. And I said, no, I've actually never played chess. And it's funny because I've had several people say that over the years. And so finally I said to one, I said, why do you say that? I said, several people have said that. And they said, your ability to think ahead and to forecast what might happen or to project what may happen. And even for me with home inspections or various things, I look at things and I think, if this came up and if that comes up, I already talk it through. I've already come up with 3 or 4 solutions for the seller. So you're not always giving somebody bad news. I may give you the bad news, but look, this is what someone found on the home inspection. However, here are 3 contractors that can take care of that. I've already talked to one. It's a $1,500 fix. So you don't just lay the problem in their lap. I think being able to give them a solution, again, same thing with the staging, being able to provide a solution. I'm not the fixer, but I can certainly give you the name of someone who can do it for you. Or when I'm standing in $1 million property or $2 million property and people are ready to walk away, and it's like, oh, I just hate this paint color. And I'm thinking, you're buying a $2 million house. Guess what? We're probably only talking about $5,000 in paint. So I make them stop it while they're in the space. Let's talk about this. So does the house bother you, or is it just the paint and the wallpaper? So if you like everything about the house and the flow of it, the wallpaper is a quick fix. Let me get you so-and-so's name. He'd probably do this job for $5,000. So now you're not walking away from a $2 million house because of a $5,000 or a $10,000 problem.
That makes sense.
And that's the other thing. If I could leave with agents, anything is, our customers look to us to be the professionals. They look to us to help them problem solve. And so sometimes agents will go in and the customer will walk in the house and I don't like this. And agents will walk right behind them. Okay. Right. There needs to be some engagement. Well, tell me what it is you don't like about it. Just don't like the floor plan. Don't like anything about it. Okay. That one, we don't need to stay. But sometimes if you stop long enough and hear and talk it through while you're in the space, I don't like those So is it just that you don't like the color of the cabinets, or you just don't like the overall kitchen? No, it's just the color. Okay. You can change those out. And that's the one thing that I think that I've been good at, is helping to engage and have those conversations where most agents just walk away. And so usually if I'm showing property, probably within the first 5 properties, I have nailed what the customer wants.
Wow.
You have agents that'll say, oh, I showed them 20 homes and I've showed 25. Well, it's because if you showed 25 homes, either the buyer didn't know what they were looking for, so you didn't dwindle down enough on that to know exactly what they're looking for, or it's like a kid going in a candy store. If you don't know you're looking for a Milky Way or an Almond Joy, and you see 500 different flavors of candy, you're going to stay there forever and think, do I want that one or that?
Exactly.
So I encourage people to, let's talk about what it is you really want. Like, we have to have some idea, because I tell them, if I take you out and you really don't know what you want, everything is going to become confusing. So I think agents being able to hear their clients, and while you're in the space, let's take a few extra minutes to talk through it. And I would say probably that's the biggest, to me, one of the biggest reasons that I probably close more than a lot of other agents.
Well, you're a natural chess player, actually.
Yeah, I guess.
If you try, you will win.
I need to play the game so I can see if I'll be good actually on a chessboard.
Yeah, but you're playing chess in real life, so
yeah,
that is great. That's why you have a lot of sales. That's pretty amazing. Having you here is amazing because our audience are looking for people like you to learn.
Mm-hmm.
So we have 2 audiences. We have the buyers, people that are looking for a realtor, or we have the people that are trying to become a realtor. So in both cases, it is impressive to have you here because you have all the answers.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You know what? I'm one of those agents. I love to see people succeed. And if I can share something to help other people, I'm happy to do it. But so much of it is relationship related and good communication. And always putting the customer and their needs before the commission. If you are just going for the check, and especially with high-end clients, they know if you're being authentic or if you're just trying to get that sale and you're really not hearing what they say. I had a customer years ago tell me that I would always be his agent because they had looked at a house that was 1.9 and they also looked at one that was 4 million. Based off of what they told me, the 1.9 was perfect for their scenario. The husband called and said, you know what? I think I want to put an offer on the 4 million. And there were some personal things that he told me about the family's dynamics and having kids in and wanting a community for his children. Well, the one that was 4 million, it wasn't a community. It was an amazing house in an amazing location, but it wasn't going to give him what he needed for his children. And so I listened to him and I slept on it. And I called him the next morning and I said, I am prepared to write the offer. And I said, but can I just speak to you about one thing? I said, when you came to me, when your family came to me, you wanted a certain environment for your children. And this one is wonderful. It's on the ocean. It's 4 million. I would absolutely love the commission on 4 million. But for your children, what you told me you really want for your children and your wife, that 1.9 might be a better fit. I will write the offer on whichever one you want. But again, he traveled a lot. And so he was really concerned about his wife and children building relationships. And I was like, this other house is great. And like I said, on the ocean, but it's not where you're going to have neighbors that they can walk to. It's not where you can send your kids down the street and say, go play with the neighbors. So of the two places, the 1.9, long story short, he gave it some thought and he came back and he said, I don't know too many agents who would have walked away from a $4 million sale and talked me into the 1.9, which you were absolutely right, was a better fit for my family. And so I love that my customers see I care. I hear what they say.
Yeah.
Care about them. I'll write on whatever you need me to write on, but it has to be bigger than the money, or even getting a buyer to buy something that won't fit, but sometimes people do just because it has a large bonus on it. That is not the way to have customers going forward. And when I started my business, I did an article for the newspaper. It was called named it Try on a Realtor for Life.
Okay.
And I wrote in that article that every person, just like you have a financial planner, a doctor, a lawyer on your team, every person, I was looking to be that agent that would be the real estate professional for you, your parents, your children, whatever. And that is in building that kind of relationship. And that is what I've done. So people, just like they'd call their trust attorney, when it comes to real estate, I've sold some 5, 6 homes. Okay, it's time for my kids. Okay, it's time for the parents. Okay, we're going. I actually had one customer, and this is a wonderful compliment to me. I was really shocked. I had sold him a home. I was selling one of his homes, and we happened to be having lunch. And of course, after it closed, and he wanted to thank me for the sale and everything. And he sat there and he said, I have you in my will that if I die, that they're supposed to contact you to sell them. And he wasn't
Wow.
older. And I thought he was joking. And I said, oh, stop. I said, oh, you're so funny, because he's a jokester. I was like, oh, you're so funny. And he says, no, Sharon, I'm serious. I have in my will that if something happens to me, they are to contact Sharon Mills to sell all of my properties. And I was just so touched by that. Like, I literally thought he was joking. I literally thought he was
But
joking.
it's not. Yeah, no.
It wasn't. I was very touched. And when you talk about some successes I've had, like, there are so many stories, but I recall one of my luxury properties. I was working with a lady who had gone through divorce. And so we were probably $30,000 there's a $30,000 difference in what the seller wanted and what the buyer wanted to pay. And so I knew, I just felt in my gut bringing them together. And typically we don't bring buyers and sellers together. But being the people person I am, I read people pretty well. And I thought, I really should bring these two people together. Let them have a conversation, because the buyer will see she's not trying to take advantage. He can tell her his reasons for why he doesn't want to go beyond the number that he wants to go, but at least there may be a meeting of the minds coming somewhere in the middle. Long story short, brought them together. My buyer was so impressed, and in the state of Florida at that time, sellers paid the full commission.
Wow.
My buyer was so impressed at the handling of that and how it all worked out. And when he heard her story, that he says to her, now, mind you, they're only $30,000 apart. At that time, my commission was going to be something like 52 or 58,000 for that deal. He says to her, I'll pay, you know what? I really like you. I'm still going to pay the price of that I offered for the home. But what I'll do is I'll pay the commission. So he paid 50. The seller was supposed to pay every penny of the commission. He liked and felt so bad for this lady, but he was holding to his principle. I will not pay more than X amount for this house, but I will pay our agents full commission, because she thought to bring us together. And I had to say, because they're only 30,000 apart, and I had to say to him in front of her, do you realize that my commission is X number? And he says, no. And so I said, so do you just want to cover the $30,000 difference, or are you covering the whole? He says, I'll cover the whole thing. I'll cover the whole thing. I want her to be okay. And he said, you were a good agent. I'm glad you brought me to her, because he really saw the sincerity and that she was having the struggle, but he went above and beyond. And see, it's stories like that that just really blessed me, to get two people working together, but for a buyer to think enough to say, you've done such a good job. You know what? I'm paying the whole commission.
Yeah, these are amazing stories, like not normal stories.
I have met some amazing people in this business.
That is really amazing.
It's a testament. I think it makes me feel good to know that they can see that I truly care about them and the situation over the money. The money is going to come. The money will come. You know,
yeah,
but
you trust yourself. You're a good seller. I mean,
Yeah.
you have all the tools. I am learning a lot right now from you at this very moment. So I'm
Good.
thinking that all the viewers, all the audience will learn, because I'm doing it. So
Yes.
yeah, it is really amazing to have you here. And well, do you have something else you would like to share? Anything?
Probably the biggest thing for agents and people, real estate is always going to be real estate. So whether the market's up, whether the market's down, for agents, just stay focused. Your customers are looking for us. Their customers are looking for us to be positive. To when the market is gloomy, the last thing they want to show up is a gloomy real estate agent.
Yeah.
Oh, the market's terrible. Oh, the interest rates are high. That's all facts. But you know what? Interest rates were at one point 18%. So now we're at 7%. So we have to help customers feel comfortable about where we are and invest. And to me, real estate is always going to be a good investment. And I try to tell, and I have customers that I work with, and this is my mindset. The people who win are those who keep moving when everybody else stops.
Yeah.
Those who keep moving. If you keep stopping, there's always going to be something. There's going to be politics. There's going to be the election. There's going to be the weather. There's going to be a hurricane. If you know you want to move, if you know that your goal, and I tell them, because people always ask me, what's the best time to sell? And my answer is anytime that you're ready to go.
Okay, that's
anytime you're ready to go. And I tell customers, if you know, especially within the 1 to 3 years, that's your goal. 1 to 3 years, I don't want to be here anymore. You know what? I'm trying to leave this state to get to grandchildren, or whatever the case may be. Focus on that instead of what's happening in the market, right? If it's 3 to 5 years, that gives you a little bit longer time to decide, well, can I wait for interest rates to come back? But if you're talking that 1 to 3, go ahead and seek out your goal now. And you know what? And if you pay 7%, and if the market goes down in 2 years, guess what? You can refinance for the lower rate. But if it doesn't, you're now still enjoying your home. You're enjoying the home that you purchased, right? And I tell them as well, sometimes people talk about, well, we just don't know because if it crash, what if the market crashes again? And this is what I say to a lot of my waterfront buyers.
Okay.
And I said, you know what? We have no crystal ball. So you're right. It could crash again. But think about it this way. If it does crash, we'll all be in the same boat. And which view would you like to be looking at? This one or the one you're currently living in? Would you like to, if we're crashed and everybody's in the same situation, what is it you want to be looking at? Your yacht in the backyard or your waterfront view or that view that you've been saying for 5 years you want to get out of. So you're going to be stuck somewhere. So just figure out which is a better place to be stuck and move forward.
Exactly.
And
That
so many
is a
people
great
have.
analogy. It is a great analogy. And it is true, actually. Yeah.
It is true. It's life. You
Just
have to keep
facts.
moving. Yeah, just facts.
That is just amazing, Sharon. Well, it was such a pleasure to have you here. Just amazing to talk with a solid realtor with so much experience. And
Thank you.
thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you. It was my pleasure and I enjoy doing it. So
Thank you
wish you
and
the
take
best.
care. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Bye.